This is Property Source Radio. If you listen to Property Source Radio each week, you know we are all about real estate rentals and home improvement. And we're going to focus on rentals today because our guest, step up to the mic. We're going to introduce you to Rich Calabrese of Rent Rochester. It is an online publication that brings property owners and tenants together via the internet. Thanks for joining us today. What do you think so far, huh? Kind of intrigued by our little thing here?
Oh, yeah. This is the first time I've ever seen a studio up close. So
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Maybe the second time, but I've never been on mic.
We have beautiful studios here at High Falls. Glad you could join us. Rent Rochester, tell us a little bit of what it's all about.
Well, you said it perfectly. It's an online resource where a renter, if they want to search for specific properties, say they want to live in certain areas of the city, they want a certain size, certain price range, some amenities, they can go to the website, search exactly like that, and the site will only pull up properties that match their search criteria.
Remember when I was in college, you'd look for a place to live. You had no idea how you're going to find the perfect place. And now with the internet and sites like rentrochester.com, it's almost easy to match the apartment you want with the landlord.
It does make it easy. I tell the renters two things: search $100 more than you want to spend. The reason why, you never know if a landlord's going to be offering a special, which is ideal, and it might just be out of your range that you think you can afford. But when it offsets itself, you're probably doing all right. But also, don't rule out any listing without a photo. Don't rule it out. The reason why is we work with a lot of real estate brokers, and they might work with 50 landlords, say. And if a landlord calls up, don't rule it out.
Okay.
Yeah, look at everything, because it could be a spectacular space. But if their customer, their landlord calls and says, hey, I've got a 2-bedroom over here on this street, we need to get it rented, they don't provide a photo, until later, that is, you might miss out on a good property.
It's
good piece of advice. I like that. Yeah. I never would have thought, because we get comfortable with the internet at home, and it's nice and cozy, and you start just looking at pictures. You do throw out a lot. When I'm browsing, I do throw out a lot of stuff without the pictures. So I like that piece of advice.
Yeah, I've been telling people that since the beginning. Don't rule out listings without a photo.
Do you do commercial on that rentrochester.com?
No, it's residential right now.
Okay.
I've had a few requests, but it's a different animal altogether.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify so we all know it's just residential for
What's
Rent
the
Rochester.
renter's market look like these days? Like, is there a lot of people you find that are interested in renting with property being so shaky?
Well, see, that's a tough question, only because it's needs driven. If you've got children and you need a yard, most likely you're not going to be renting. Unless you can find a single family home, something like that. But I know there's a lot of refinancing going on. So that's keeping the good renters that were there in their homes. I just refied my mortgage. So it's
just cheap money.
Yep.
Rich Calabrese is with us from Rent Rochester here on Property Source Radio. Is it still the tendency to rent and then work your way up to buying, or are you finding that people who own are looking to rent? And if so, what's the advantage of what I would call backing up?
Well, what we're seeing anyways, and I think this is national, but especially in Rochester, the trend is that the empty nesters want something to do.
That's me.
That's you.
That's it. They want the activity and the action, so they're moving downtown. They're renting lofts, they're renting nice apartments, and they're selling their, say, 3 or 4 bedroom home because they don't want to go out and cut the lawn anymore.
You sound just like Julie. We're looking for a place. I want to go downtown, but I'm hesitant to go back to renting because you lose the tax deduction with the interest and all that sort of thing. But what do I gain by renting as opposed to owning?
Well, the good thing is you don't need to maintain anything. If you rent a loft, I'm just going to use a loft.
Yeah.
If you rent a loft, all of that exterior maintenance is taken care of. The common areas, they're all taken care of. You have to maintain what's inside your walls, naturally.
But don't I have that if I own a loft?
You could. Yeah, absolutely.
It basically gets you into a nice lazy position. You're buying yourself into a laziness. It's great.
If I rent, does that? That's a good point, and that's me.
It's a lifestyle.
That's me.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a career for me. If I rent, does that mean I don't no longer have to pay school taxes and that sort of? Am I still responsible for that stuff? Because I'm trying to even off the bottom line here. If I do decide to rent,
yeah. If you're renting, you're paying one fee. That's your rent, and maybe or maybe not you're going to pay utilities.
Yeah.
But typically, the owner of the property is the one that's going to be paying all the taxes.
What kind of rental properties are the heat and electricity included and versus not? In other words, I've not been a renter. I have rented properties for people, et cetera, years ago, but I want to know what percentage and or what criteria, is the landlord going to offer heat and light?
As far as percentage, I don't know. I think it's going to depend on whether or not you're in the city or you're in the suburbs. If you're in a big apartment community, typically those buildings are paying for the common area electricity and they're paying for the utilities.
Okay.
But if you're looking at a loft, depending on the loft project, it could be that you're paying for your utilities yourself. It goes from landlord to landlord.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no real
rhyme or pattern to it.
So landlords don't get together as a big group and say, here's what we're going to do now.
no.
And then,
Okay.
Alex, you look like you have something you want to add to this.
Oh no, I was just listening. It's just very interesting. You were talking about the lofts. There's a bunch of them that are springing up around the downtown area. Have you had a chance to see any of them? See how they look? Are they worth the price tag?
It is, well, a loft, it depends on what you want. It is a lifestyle. It is image-driven housing, a loft for sure.
Oh.
If you want a real nice presentation for yourself, you're going to go for a loft first.
So the Rochester area is becoming more like these bigger cities. Is that what you're saying?
Good point.
With that image-driven term that you just used, Rich.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely image-driven.
Interesting.
We're a little late on it. Buffalo
20
did
years
this
late.
20 years ago.
And and I grew up in Boston, and they've been. It's been that way for 40 years. It seems.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a fad, it's a trend. I mean, there's a difference between a fad and a trend. Fad is here and it's gone. The trend is just you're consistently moving forward. And you're going to see a lot of these old lofts. It is very cool housing, there's no doubt. You get the high ceilings, you get the exposed brick, and the old industrial buildings are really beautiful.
The Temple Building comes to mind.
Temple Building, Buckingham's got a ton of stuff. There's quite a few lofts that are being put right in here in High Falls. But Costanza and Buckingham have got some really, really great stuff. But a lot of landlords do.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We're speaking today with Rich Calabrese of Rent Rochester. By the way, he's the Rochester Business Journal's Best of the Web in 2010 in the real estate and construction category. Congratulations on that.
Thanks. We were thrilled and surprised.
And well, you earn it because I've looked at the website. It's fantastic at rentrochester.com. When we come back, I want to take a look at a little bit more from the landlord side of things as we continue on Property Source Radio on Sports Radio 950 ESPN.